All right, it's me, John White, the last session of the day. Excited to be here with everybody. Give a quick little talk about your cloud your way, what I think that means, why I think it's important. QR code, same as David Humes. It is not phishing. It's just a quick, easy way to get to my LinkedIn. Would love to connect, keep the conversation going. I've been posting there throughout this whole 2 day session, so you can see some of my insights so far. But I'm gonna hit on a few more of those to kind of wrap out the session and the summit. First, before I do that, though, I want to thank a ton of people. I want to thank the partners that came here to be with us, the speakers, internally and externally. We had some great names here with Rob Strechay giving the keynote yesterday, Rebecca Weekly giving the keynote today. We had our partners from NetSource One. We had Nutanix here. We just got done with another talk with Ampere. We had Giles from Shape Blue that sorts our open cloud platform and projects. So super thankful for all of them being here. Thank you to the marketing team. I mean, without you, we wouldn't be able to put this on. We've had great attendance over the last 2 days. So thank you again to the attendees. And I hope you enjoyed it. And we love feedback as always. So there will be a survey after this presentation here, and we'd love to get feedback from you. We're always focused on continuing learning here at US Signal. So if there's something you liked, you didn't like, you want to hear more from this person, less from this person, let us know. That's what we're here for. We try to give you a mix of customers doing it, other companies doing it like Geico, which is huge, mega, multi-billion-dollar corporation. What people are looking at from Nutanix from the software side, Ampere from the hardware side. So our goal was here to provide as much education as possible in 2 days. So hopefully we hit that mark for you. I wanted to kind of hit a few highlights that kind of stayed in my brain as kind of I watched everything here the last 2 days. The whole hybrid multi-cloud journey. I think for a lot of people, I mean, it's not really a new concept, but I think it's been a little bit optional over the last few years. And I think Rob had it on one of his slides where it's like the only thing you can do wrong right now is not embrace hybrid and embrace multi-cloud. And it's really an interesting topic. When I was at AWS, I was part of a group that authored a paper focusing on multi-cloud. And inside of AWS, you would think, oh my gosh, you have to be crazy to write a multi-cloud paper inside of one of the largest cloud providers in the world. And people did think we were crazy. And one of the examples we used was a company, big company, does an acquisition, and that big company that was acquired is in another cloud. What are you supposed to do? Are you supposed to say, hey, look, you have to consolidate into one cloud, or hey, we have tools that can help you manage your workloads through AWS into another person's cloud? I think we know where that all went, especially if you listen to Taylor. He talked a little bit about that, but multi-cloud and hybrid cloud, is going to be our path, and that journey should start to be, some of your just kind of base operating procedures. Like that's what you should be thinking about. That's what you should be doing. And we heard that from everybody, from our customers, from our partners, obviously for our internal team. That's where we're focused. That's what we're embracing. There is not a one cloud fits all approach anymore. That doesn't really work. I think the analysts even would agree there. So, that's one thing that I had as a big takeaway is like, I just don't think it's even an option anymore. This has to be the standard. And then thinking about open source and how it continues to grow and gain traction is really interesting. And I started kind of winding this one through my head a little bit earlier today. And it's like people say, okay, open source is kind of new, but it's not. We've always been on this journey. I mean, think about, why Cisco exists today. It was created really to, interconnect things on an open platform. And those things at the time were mainframe. And so even, starting from the mainframe days, we've always been pushing forward towards open standards, and we had to do it because scale is happening. And so I don't think there is a future without open source because we need it to continue to scale the hardware, the data centers, the software, the clouds that we're building. It's really, it's the base of everything that we're going to do in the future. And so I think the sooner your organization can embrace open source, I think the better. And I think for the ISVs out there that have been closed systems, I have a feeling you're going to start seeing a lot more openness in the future. And then I think something else we heard throughout all the different talks today are applications are really important. Whether you're speccing hardware, whether you are figuring out your best cloud fit there, whether you're worried about your consumers of your cloud, like Rebecca talked about, the application developers, if they are not satisfied, what are they going to do? Something else. They're going to go rogue. They're going to go do shadow AI or shadow IT, shadow cloud, whatever we want to talk about it, because they just want to get stuff done. And that's why do they want to get stuff done? Is because the business is asking them to get something done. And so I think anything you can do to focus on applications, even when you're thinking about migration, like everyone's going to be a little bit different. You talk to Stephen Webb talking about pets versus cattle. I mean, those applications are completely different depending on what side of the fence you're on there, and most people are mixed. And so I think we constantly, want to go towards like the cloud, and I'll even look at I'll contradict my next statement, but we want to look at the cloud and we want to look at the hardware sometimes. But if we don't focus on the applications at the tip of the iceberg, the thing that's kind of sticks up outside of the water, I think we're going to run into some challenges. And I think we heard a lot of people talk about that today. In the same vein, I will say that, just after listening to Ampere talk and, looking at the marketplace, I mean, NVIDIA right now is like a $4.4 trillion market cap right now. You look at the growth in Dell, Supermicro, HPE, Lenovo, all these different companies out there, Infinidat, I mean, storage companies. Um, Hardware is pretty sexy again. I felt like there was a time where infrastructure, there was a little bit of a lull. We had kind of the cloud era, and cloud happened, and people started getting away from data centers and getting away from designing their own hardware. They just simply use the cloud providers. And I think we're coming back into that resurgence. I'm pretty excited about it. I heard it throughout the conversations the last 2 days, but hardware is there, and it's something we need to be cognizant of. And I think among you, the customer, I'm asking questions on how are you supporting open standards? How are you making sure that you're getting us the latest and greatest? We have a partnership we're building with NVIDIA, and it's pretty interesting. I mean, they had to go and validate us as a service provider because hardware is so critical of a commodity right now, and everybody wants it, and they want to make sure they're getting it in the right hands. And so I think we're going to be on a little bit of a resurgence here of hardware, and it's going to become really important as you kind of figure out your cloud journey. With that, I'm going to kind of close on one big concept that I've been thinking a lot lately. Right now in the market, and really in the world, I mean, whether you're looking on the social side of things or the business side of things, a lot of people love this fear, uncertainty, and doubt. I'm sure you've heard about FUD in the past. And it's not really new. I mean, we've been talking about it forever. I mean, we had this guy, Forrest Gump, the doctor said he couldn't run. People wouldn't be able to, he'd never be able to live a normal life. Look at him, though. He was running. I mean, he ran across the United States multiple times. And we had poor Bobby Boucher, who, his mother thought that football was the devil and he wasn't going to be able to play. But you know what? When that coach gave him a chance, he ended up being a pretty good player, moving from water boy to football player. And last but not least, I mean, we have the Jamaican bobsledding team. They couldn't do it. They weren't going to be able to be in the Olympics. And John Candy, though, he believed in them. What a weird character. And what happened? They ended up competing in the Olympics, and they still do. And so I want to go and take all of that FUD that we kind of hear, and I want to remind you that you can do anything. And even if the media prints things like this, where migrating is a drawn out affair, analysts say, that's analysts saying that. So remember that. That's reporters saying that. They want the clicks. What's really happening, you have to also kind of look maybe 3 pages back. But you look, Toshiba ditches VMware for Nutanix. Nutanix, great partner of ours, obviously. So this one works. And then Nutanix, I mean, we saw it in the numbers. They had a 19% annual growth. Again, that's pretty crazy to think when cloud's growing around the same cadence. And so Nutanix is doing it. So sometimes I got to remind myself personally, and I remind everybody around me, don't read everything and take it as verbatim. It's not always that way. you truly can do anything. And something that I'm pushing to the team is US Signal, we want to be hot. We want to be honest. We want to be open. We want to be transparent. That's what we're going to give you. Hopefully, you saw that the last 2 days with all my teammates that gave talks. But that's where we want to be, because when we're honest with our customers, we're open with our partners about what we're trying to do. We can lead with that transparency in all the products and services and solutions that we can provide. And that's what we want to try to do. We want to provide customers with choice. We want to be able to make it, your cloud be exactly what you need to get your business done, and focus on your critical customers, which are usually, maybe internal people or external people, on how you make money. So that's what you'll get with us. Don't always read and believe everything you see in the media. And I also, follow me on LinkedIn, because I like to kind of prove some of these things out. And I'll call out those people who are like, oh, that's not exactly accurate. I mean, I think that one analyst report said it's going to take 18 to 36 months to do a migration. Well, we all know, if you've been around the block a few times, that's not exactly accurate. So remember that. US Signal, we're hot, we're honest, we're open, we're transparent with you every time. So with that, I want to kind of give you just a bigger, 2 cents in my world right now on what I'm thinking about. I have a pretty storied career in innovation and focus on kind of creating the next big thing. And I think we're on a huge bubble right now, but a good bubble. Like, people always talk about bubbles, and it's like bad because the economy is going to blow up, and nobody's going to have jobs and all that other stuff. But I think there's a bubble that occurs, and if you play it the right way, just like a wave, it'll push you forward. And I think right now we are in that innovate or die. And we've been here a few times in my career, in the .com, in the 07, 08 when the cell phone was created and we were running into financial troubles as an economy. And we are here again in this AI side, but we're very, very early. We're early innings, if not still in the dugout to this thing. And so I have a copy of the book, Innovator's Dilemma, on the bookshelf over here. And it's always that same thing. You have to let go of some of your old and some of the past, and embrace the new if you really want to have business success. I also want to focus a lot, or hopefully people are focusing on reducing lock-in, create that flexibility. There's so many different ways as we continue to expand the cone of our horizon in IT, that you can reduce lock-in, make sure that you're flexible, make sure that you're agile, you're nimble. That's what we thought we were all buying with cloud, because we needed that as a business. Make sure you're making those decisions that way. Another big thing that I'm thinking a lot about lately is, partnerships. And, partnerships are very key to getting work done, to developing relationships, to earning customers' trust, and they work both ways. And so, I just want to remind everybody that if you're not feeling it from the other direction, make a change. It's probably going to be better for your business in the long term. And that's across anything in life. I think that's a solid one to remember. And last but not least, as sexy and as cool as hardware is getting again, infrastructure is a commodity. It's what you use to build everything else to provide to your users. So if you think about it from a network layer, we build fiber because that's my base infrastructure, my base foundation to do everything else. That allows me to do internet to my data centers, internet to my customers, SD-WAN, SASE, all that other fun stuff. And then you have data centers on the other side that helps you provide cloud and AI. And you got to remember that infrastructure is a commodity. And so when you're looking at, your stack, if you're embracing infrastructure and it is controlling your business, you might want to readjust and figure out how to maybe get a little bit more flexible and nimble, and just continue to focus on that infrastructure is a commodity. It's what you need to basically run your business, but it doesn't need to own and control your business. So think through that. That's my 2 cents. That's kind of where my head's at with, where I'm driving, innovation at US Signal. Super excited about the next few years and few months, really, because we're moving so fast. But the next few years have a lot of opportunity. Data centers are cool again. That's a pretty good place to be from my side. So with that, I want to thank you, all the attendees that stuck with us the 2 days. We had a lot of people that were at every session, so we saw the metrics, and we really appreciate that. Hopefully you learned a lot. Again, we want feedback. So there's going to be a short survey at the end of this session. It's going to pop up. Please give us that information. We want to get better. We want to hear from you. Two other things to remind you of. There's going to be an email with a link to all the recorded sessions. And I already looked at there's already some up there right now. The GoTo does a great job of putting up those sessions and giving those recordings right away. Share them with your friends. Tag us on LinkedIn, wherever you're gonna put them. We'll put them in, I'm sure, in our YouTube channel as well. So make sure that you look at those recorded sessions and share them. And then last but not least, the most important thing in my eyes is the prize winners will be notified tomorrow via email. So the marketing team will send you that. I know we're giving away a lot of cool stuff. If anybody needs a guest for the Heat game, I will gladly sign up. I would love to go to a Heat game. So with that, I want to thank everybody for being here. I want to thank again for all the partners, the marketing team, all of you at Signal that got behind this 2-day summit. And we hope to see you again next year. Thanks a lot.